ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोविष्टं स्थापितमेनं द्वरे स्वयं रूपकदामयं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं गुरो श्रीयुतकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणरं भक्तवतं तां सजीवम्। साहदैतं साधुतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेव श्रीराधाकृष्णपादा सगुणाललितां श्रीविशाखावितं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरवंगा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 Hare Krishna. Welcome to this discussion on Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are right now discussing the chapter 5. The chapter 5 title is Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So in this chapter, we completed the first section, which is Karma Yoga is equal to, but much easier than Jnana Yoga. That is where we focused on. Now we partially completed seventh shloka. So 7th to 16th shloka focuses on the theme by fixing mind on Atma, Karma Yogi remains free from bondage. So this is what we are focusing on. Now let us go to the shloka. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvan Apina Lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So we were looking at how working with control of mind and senses, one can achieve, um, one can come out of karma, bondage of karma. How such a man can never get entangled. So we are looking at the example of Maharaj Priyavrata. So Maharaj Priyavrata was asked by Narada Muni to take renunciation and follow the vow of brahmacharya strictly. Whereas his father figure, Swayambhu Manu, wanted um, Maharaj Priyavrata to get into Grihasthashram and expand the population of the universe. So that was so. Both of them are Mahajan. So what should he do at this point of time? Brahma, Lord Brahma, who is the spiritual master of both Manu and Narada Muni, personally descended to address Priyavrata. Brahma clarified the confusion. He said that everything in this world happens under the direction of Supreme Personality of God Krishna. So no one is truly independent. Even if someone chooses renunciation, it does not mean they are free from action or influence. Brahma gave the example of sun which moves across the sky, performing its duty, yet it remains untouched. A ruler too can govern the world without being bound if he performs this duty with devotion and detachment. So Maharaj Priyavrata has to rule the world with devotion and detachment. So Brahma then spoke a deeper truth. He said that going to forest is not a real renunciation if mind is still attached. Even in isolation, one is always followed by six companions. Six companions, sometimes these are called as six wives. Symbolically, they are called as six wives. So it is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind. So Yoga Yukta, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriya. Jitendriya means who has conquered over the senses. So wherever one goes, these six things, these six wives, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, mind, go with him. Brahma warned Priyavrata, Maharaj Priyavrata against hypocrisy, where one may dress as a renunciate but internally he may remain entangled in the sense object. Such renunciation, according to Brahma, is a hypocrisy and it is a superficial renunciation. On the other hand, if a king performs his duty in the spirit of devotion without personal attachment, he is more advanced. He is not a false renunciate. The explanation settled, this explanation of Lord Brahma settled Maharaj Priyavrata's doubt. But more importantly, it revealed a deeper principle. Vaishnavas do not compete in ego or argument. The situation was not about Swayambhu Manu was great or Narada was not great, or Swayambhu Manu was winning and Narada Manu losing. No. Both of them were great at authorities, yet they were ready to align themselves with the will of their spiritual master, who is Lord Brahma. They showed that serving the Lord's purpose is more important than defending their own position. Narada, although a great devotee, great advocate of a renunciation, humbly accepted the decision pushed by Lord Brahma. This is true character of Vaishnava. To play is Lord's will above personal preference. That is really a true character of Vaishnava. When Lord Brahma instructed Priyavrata to rule, both Manu and Narada stood united in support. Thus, Maharaj Priyavrata accepted the throne, not by ambition, but as a service to Lord. He ruled with complete dedication and energy. He married, he had children, he governed the herd, managed vast responsibilities. Yet inwardly he remained detached, his mind completely fixed on Krishna. His heart never deviated from the path of self realization. So, what is that we learn? So, when we see a person, one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. So Maharaj Priyavrata ruled over the kingdom with devotion. He controlled his mind and senses, which is, and hence he was dear to everyone. Though always working, he remained unentangled. He ruled the world as a pure soul, not driven by selfish desires. His actions were an offering to the Lord. His senses were engaged, but his consciousness remained always pure. So, this verse emphasizes that such a person becomes dear to all living beings and everyone becomes dear to him. This was seen in Maharaj Priyavrata's rule. He governed not with pride or control, but with compassion, justice, and took care of every subject, full consciousness, fully conscious of the spiritual purpose behind his position. The essence of the story of Maharaj Pravarta and the Gita verses 1. Renunciation is not about escape, it is about consciousness. Whether one is a king or an hermit, the question is not where you live or what you do, but why you do it and for whom you do it. If the action is done without false ego, without personal desire, and with devotion to the law, then even ruling a kingdom becomes an act of liberation. So Maharaj Priyavrata's life is not just a history, it is an instruction. When one is called to duty by higher authority, even if the duty seems material, it becomes spiritual if accepted with right mindset. Maharaj Priyavrata's story, supported by teachings of Manu, Narada, Brahma, is aligned with this Bhagavad Gita shloka 5.7. So this gives a powerful message, which is spiritual life is not inaction. It is purified action, not withdrawal, but engagement without bondage, not hypocrisy, but honest surrender to the will of the Lord. Such a life is very rare, but it is the path shown by Mahajanas. It is not concocted, and it is the path meant for those who wish to serve, not escape. Serve the responsibility given by Supreme Personality of God Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada's purport goes to the point Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. This means that such a person is compassionate to all living beings. Sarva Bhutatma, Atma Bhutatma, so compassionate. So to all living entities. So Srila Prabhupada translates this as dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Such a person treats other souls as he himself. So he is saying that is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. So is this impersonalism? No, it is not impersonalism, but it is deep emotional connect between the living entities. This can be further explained by shloka number. आत्मा पाम्येन सर्वत्र समां पश्यति यो अर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः. He is perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjuna. However, in the current context, Krishna is assuring that if he acts in this way, he will be free from bondage. Here it is seeing the true equality. By comparison to his own self, sees true equality of all beings in both their happiness and distress. So there is a little bit difference in there, but the context Krishna is assuring here is little bit different. So yoga yukta vishuddhatma. So the yoga yukta vishuddhatma, vijitatma jitendriya, such a person uh, who is having complete control, who is a pure soul, who is under engaged in devotional service, who has complete control of his senses. Such a person becomes dear because that person does not have a selfish motivation. Such a person does not want anything from anyone. Such a person just wants to serve Lord. So if you see here, he sees every living entity is equal in both their happiness and distress. So he sees everyone as connected in connection with Supreme Personality of God. There could be many definitions of material and spiritual relationship. How could we know if a particular relationship is material or spiritual, or the relationship is selfish or selfless? When we meet a person and the person thinks, what can I get from this person? Then it is selfish. On the other hand, if I think, what can I do for this person? That is selfless. So, a self-realized soul, like Maharaj Priyavrata, will help everyone to gain Krishna consciousness. That is why that is true equality. And he will say preach Krishna consciousness to happy soul and also to the soul who is in distress. So he treats everyone equally. The Krishna conscious dimension for this is how this person can bless me to advance in Krishna consciousness. How this person can be engaged in service of Krishna for advancement in Krishna consciousness, thus making spiritual advancement. So, advancement in Krishna consciousness is the focus. That is why there is no selfish desire. That is why there is equality in seeing all the living entities. Thus, the devotee is selfless for sake of others, he concerned for the welfare of others. So, sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvan apina lipyate. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So, when he works for Krishna consciousness, for the upliftment, for the advancement of a specific soul in Krishna consciousness, that is working, and that working never entangles any person. So, let us go to the next shloka, 8 and 9. नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तमन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् श्रवणं श्वसन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वप्नन् शशन्. प्रलपन विसृजन ग्रहणन उन्मिषन निमिषन अपि इंद्रियाणि इंद्रियर्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्. So what is the shloka? Translation. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. This is a very important shloka, and we need to understand the shloka very well. So let us, um, I need to, okay. So Krishna is telling that there are so many things happening in the body, but the wise person understands that he is not the doer of those things. Those he is engaged is different activities. He is not the actual doer of things. He is not doing all the activities. This could be understood at many levels. One is physical, or scientific level, and the other one is spiritual level. At physical or scientific level, in a human body, so many different activities are happening. Some of the activities are voluntary, some are involuntary activities. For example, expression of a feeling is a voluntary activity. However, respiration, blood circulation, digestion of food, that is intestinal, all are involuntary activities. Some disease manifest when the involuntary functions are not happening correctly. In such a case, medicines are taken, medicines are to be taken, and we need to do that activity voluntarily. This type of shift from involuntary to voluntary functions will overload our brain and our existence becomes very difficult. This involuntary function is automated and it is simple. So, in our previous discussion, we have understood that automatic and simple means we do not understand that there is a controller behind. Automatic and simple means absence of awareness of the control and the controller. This controller is none other than the super soul. So, if some involuntary activity does not happen, then it is pain for us. So now, in the shloka number 9.10, Krishna is telling, Maya Dakshi, I'm just sharing my screen. Maya Dakshena Prakritihi Suyatesa Characharam Etunanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. So, this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings under its rule. This manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So in this shloka, we see that Krishna is telling that he is the controller. Thus, the point is that we are surviving even without the knowledge of various involuntary functions that is happening in our body. Our super soul is aware of these details. Thus, we are not the doer of these involuntary activities. Naivi kinchit karometi. Naiva kinchit karometi. The medical science makes us aware of level of ignorance about our body and the mechanism in the body, which are fundamental for our existence. Okay, so some of the mechanisms are healing mechanisms in the body, the immune system in the body. The entire mechanism of immune system is to the entire to fight against disease, which is done involuntarily. Okay, if there is no resistance to that, then we fall ill. Then we need to force immunity by taking medicines. So involuntary action becomes voluntarily by taking medicines. So the medicines and the entire mechanism to capture the image. I'm seeing the camera and capture, and that image is captured and it is processed. This is an interesting, that it gets captured in our brain, and then we understand what we are saying. So that is a very interesting saying in the medical field. The medicines are the entertainment, while the body cures itself. So this is a quote from a very famous philosopher, Voltaire. He's a French philosopher. So the medicines are not the primary, according to the meaning of this quote from Voltaire is that medicines are not the primary cure. The body's healing system is the primary cure. Medicines give assistance in healing. So we need to take medicines properly. Our body's healing system requires support from medicine to heal. The point is that medicines are of no use if the healing system of the body itself is not working. Example for this is the defense mechanism of the body. If the immune defense system is not working, any amount of antibiotics taken will not cure the disease. This is an involuntary function in which we are not directly involved. So it is naiva kinchit karomiti. Naiva kinchit means never, certainly anything. Karom, I do thus. I don't do such many of these things. Though we discussed here of involuntary functions in which we have no control, even in voluntary functions, we do not have any control or have only limited control. We use our hand to lift or move things. If we have a pain or paralysis, we cannot move the hand even the way we want. Say I'm moving from here to here. If I have a cramp or I have a pain, I cannot move the hand. So there is a disease called as Parkinson's disease, which results in loss of control on the motor nervous system. Motor nervous system means nervous system which helps in movement of limbs of the body. Wherever there is a movement, that nervous system is called as motor nervous system. Hence, we have a very low control on movement of arms. So, a person suffering from Parkinson's disease has very limited ability or limited control of the movement of his arms. Hence, naivi kinchit karomiti. We actually do nothing. Can we say that these are the unnatural circumstances? No. Naturally, we are in control. Unnatural conditions put us out of control. We have got this body as a temporary place to reside. Our stay in the body itself is not in our control. Now, in that temporary stay, we are in control of our voluntary functions only for a short period of time. This does not make us controller at all. When we were a small child, we pass urine, we pass stool. So we had no control in our even the basic um, waste management of our body. So our body, no, our voluntary functions in the body itself is for a very short period of time. This does not make controller of any sorts. So one more perspective of this naivi kinchit karometi is that there is a system which gives us an illusion that we are in control. When time, place, and circumstances change, this illusion is broken or cannot continue. Because it is only illusion that makes us think that we are in control. This is the scientific perspective. or bodily perspective. We can also view the philosophical perspective of this. The philosophical perspective is one level deeper in the sense now we will be talking in terms of soul. I am a soul. I have nothing much to do with the body. Currently, I am in a human body and I do some functions. I may move into subhuman where functions that I can do are limited. Like if I get a dog's body, I cannot speak, but I can only bark. This barking facility comes with the body of the dog. I have no control on that. If I have to express something by my mouth, it will only appear as the barking. In human form of life, I have ability to express in a language. But when it is moved into subhuman species, the soul moves into subhuman species, the body has limited facility. So this is called as Sharira Bandha. Sharira Bandha. The soul starts expressing its desire through the faculties of the body it has received. So according to the mechanism called according to the mechanism the body has, the soul acts. When we understand this, we understand that we are not the doers. So two perspectives we saw. One perspective is that um, in the bodily function as a human being in bodily functions, many things are based on things which we do not have any control. We do not have any control our food is getting digested. We do not have any control how the heart beats. We do not have any control over the blood flow when there is a small cut in our body. The healing mechanism or the clotting blood clotting mechanism has to work. So within that scientific or bodily platform, our our control is limited. So naivi kinchit karomi. The second perspective is at the soul level. Soul in a human body has some faculties. So these faculties help him to express his views, thoughts in a better way. But when he is pushed into subhuman species, he will not be able to utilize the facilities as it is available in human. For example, in human form, I can use the tongue to speak a language. Right, I recite slokas. I can express my thoughts in music in the form of song and so on. But in case of dog, it is just barking. So in both the ways, the control is limited. I'm just sharing my screen. There's something interesting we should discuss now. So now, this shloka 5.08, 5.09, we are talking about two things. I'm just let us go to the shloka. So we see that we are not the doers. So who is doing it? A person in divine consciousness, although seeing, engage in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with the objects and he is aloof from them. So, who is doing it? Let us see that. So, who is the Karta? If the soul is not the doer, whose reaction is he getting? And whom are scriptures meant for? So, these two are very important for us to understand. If this is the absolute statement that who is the karta, if this is the absolute statement that soul is not the doer, then he should not be the reaper of reactions as well, right? But we see that in the scriptures, the soul gets reaction. So there are do's and don'ts in scriptures. Why is that? Why is that? The point is that soul is not an independent doer. Soul works dependent on many other factors. Soul occupies the bodies. Soul uses the body to communicate, act, and do things, etc. in this material world. So body is an instrument which soul gets to do whatever soul desires. The woodcutter has desire cut the tree. So there are different instruments possible. Let me check. Let's get this. So if there is a tree to cut, axe is there, but there are many ways in which I can cut the tree. I have miter saw, circular saw, scroll saw, chop saw. I have different tools available to cut the tree and then cut the tree into pieces. Okay. So woodcutter has a desire to cut the tree. So there are different instruments possible. These different desires are fulfilled. The instruments that we get based on our desires. The instruments have their own limitation. For example, human will have a different voice box, dogs will have a different voice box, and horse will have a different type of voice box. Thus, the sound that comes from each one of them will be completely different. Thus, the instrumental cause will be different. The axes come in different varieties. These are different instruments or different forms. So we can see that uh, there are different instruments. These different instruments are different bodily forms. Okay. Now, the axe comes in different varieties. So our desire is the initiator. So the woodcutter who has a desire to cut, he initiates and he uses the instruments. So the initiator is the soul which has a desire, and the executor is the different instruments that we get, that is the body. This can be also explained using an analogy of a criminal case. Okay. Um, Analogy of a police and criminal. The criminal is the initiating cause. He commits the crime. He commits the crime, so he becomes the initiating cause. The police is an instrumental cause. He arrests the criminal. And judge is the sanctioning cause. He gives the final verdict, what needs to be done. The process begins with criminal doing a crime. Without crime, nothing follows. If police does not arrest, the criminal is not jailed. Even if arrested, police cannot jail the criminal directly. Only judge has to authorize the punishment. Thus, criminal is the initiating cause, police is the instrumental cause, judge is the sanctioning cause. So we can see here, criminal is there in the box here, podium, and then police is here, and the judge is there. So judge gives these, because criminal commits, the police is arresting. If police is not arresting criminal, then there is nothing there. There is no criminal case. And because police has arrested and he cannot put him into the prison, he brings it into the judge who gives the sanctions. The same thing we can see here in case of soul, super soul, and material nature. If the soul suffers, then material nature is the instrumental cause. The soul is the initiating cause. The soul, which is the bird, is the initiating cause. It eats the fruit of the tree which is the instrumental cause, which is the material nature. And super soul is the sanctioning cause, which is viewing and authorizing whatever the soul is committing. So the soul suffers. In this case, soul is the initiating cause. The material nature is the instrumental cause. Super soul is a sanctioning cause. Soul desires independently and acts based on that desire. This makes the soul the initiating cause. Material nature carries out the process, providing the field and instruments through which the soul experiences the result. So, material nature gives the body, it gives the different surroundings. For example, there is a male female attraction. So, material nature gives the female and also the sense organs and also the body, physical body. So, hence, the material nature is the instrumental cause. If there are no instruments available, soul cannot express its desire. So, and then super soul has to sanction, super soul has to give permission to material nature that let him get this type of instrument, let him get this type of body to enjoy. Let this female soul get attracted to this male soul. So this sanctioning is coming from the super souls. So just as in case of police criminal analogy, where criminal initiates a crime, police executes the arrest, judge approves the punishment. In the same way, soul initiates a desire, material nature facilitates the action, and super soul gives the final sanction. This explains how suffering is not random but governed by clear chain of causes. Thus, all the three are karta. So, who is karta? The material nature, super soul, soul. All of them are karta. Now, we see that the sense object. Um, so, this is another way of looking at it. Sense objects are there. Soul comes in contact. Um, so, here, material nature, super soul, soul, all are within the body which the soul resides in. And this constitute the part of conditioned soul. The material nature here is the body and the sense objects around the conditioned soul. The soul perceives the sense objects when it comes in contact with the sense object. Then the soul desires or intends. He contacts, he sees a beautiful image of a woman and then he desires to possess it or intends to have a sexual contact. So this is perceived by super soul inside the body along with the soul. So then super soul, um, and super soul sanctions. This results in material nature executing the scenario. Then the soul engages in sense gratification. So this is how the conditioned soul engages. The soul is doer in the sense that he is the desirer or the initiator. Super soul is the sanctioner. Material nature is the executor. All these constitute the doers. They are all karta. The point from 5.8, 5.9 is 9 is that Indriyani Indriyarteshu Vartanta iti dharya. Let's go to the shloka. Indriyani Indriyarteshu Vartanta iti dharya. Because He always knows that only material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is alive. This means that there are few activities which require the engagement of sense and sense object while he is executing these activities. Though the senses are engaged with sense object, he is alone. Who is alone? The soul is alone. Further, he knows that he is not the only doer. Other than these activity, it does not use the senses for sense gratification as there is no stimulation or motivation to do these sense gratificatory activities. The mindset of a person, devotee, protects him from getting bound by loss of karma. For example, a devotee has no function, and a devotee, once he gets children who are Krishna conscious, and then and he has established a family for himself, and now the wife takes care of the child or the children, and now the husband is has to focus on the focus on taking care of the family. Thus, the sense of the touch, uh, which is driving the devotee to get into marriage, has no function. So he keeps himself away from the sense object, which will give pleasure to the skin, pleasure of touching through the skin on the genitals. So there is no function for it. Therefore, the devotee avoids doing this. So so this means there is no motivation to engage in these sense gratificatory activities. So this is the mindset of the person, and this is the mindset of the devotees, and hence he gets protected from getting bound by laws of karma. And further, when he gets child to engage, to to make a Krishna conscious family, even that motivation is dovetailed for Krishna's pleasure, and hence he doesn't get bound by laws of karma. Otherwise, in material world, the sense of touch, which is manifested on the genitals, drive man and women crazy, and they engage in sinful activities again and again, and thereby they get bound by the laws of karma. So the person eats for sake of surviving. So devotee eats for sake of surviving rather than enjoying. Thus, the senses are used only to contact material objects for basic survival. Thus, he does not get implicated in the karmic bondage. So, Krishna consciousness helps devotees to um, withdraw the senses from the sense objects, and by dovetailing their motivation in service of Krishna, dovetailing their action and motivation to serve Krishna. So that way they are not implicated by karmic bondage. So this they do with a deeper understanding that they are not the only doers. So that understanding helps them to be remaining. No, that basic understanding comes further. They are motivated at a much higher level that they want to serve everything. They want to do everything for service of Krishna. So right now, Krishna is touching very basic point where a person who is on path of self-realization withdraws his senses from sense objects with a clear understanding that he is not the only doer. So that is what is discussed. The deeper insights of these verses will come as we go into the further chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So I will stop here. Thank you very much. Anjakilputravya Chakrapasindhu Bhaya Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Granth Raj Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jai. All Premanandi. Hare Krishna.